welcome to On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell Allen Bay, but I love to hear her say her name. Say it.
I'm Shuntai Hill.
What do you do?
I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist.
I love that.
I beat you to it.
She beat me to it. I always like to say it, but she got me to it, yeah. So we have another great show today. You know, we have two fine, outstanding professionals with us, and we want to talk with the first one. I mean, everybody in the world know you, man. Everybody in the world knows Tyrone Poole. Tell us who you are. Say it to the world. Look over there and tell them.
Let me tell the camera. Tell the camera who I know. I'm Tyrone Poole. I'm from LaGrange, Georgia. I'm humorous, spiritual, family, athletic. So that's how I like to describe myself, because that is the actual foundation. And from that, I build into all the other parts.
All right.
Okay. And tell us you, and then we're going to go to you. So who are you, sir?
So I'm Joseph Adams. I am a licensed professional counselor. I am a guy who has endured many transitions.
Okay.
All right now.
Yes, yeah, hey, I
gotta
know a
give
person
him a
that's a
fist.
shift.
I gotta give him a fist bump because we're in the same. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Make shifts happen, okay, yeah. So Tyrone, let's get into your story. Let's talk about, tell us what you did. I know what you, but tell the audience.
So just tell them again, myself, when I actually look back, coming from humble beginnings, again, LaGrange, Georgia, and I don't even think we have enough time to actually give everyone the fullness.
Okay.
But to be able to collaborate with people on the have-not side, as they would say, and the have, I feel like I am a bridge. I am a connector.
Okay.
So whenever I go back to talk to the youth or the elderly, those that are complaining, that say they don't have and they want, then I'm able to tell them that connect, okay, this is what you need to do. The reason why you don't have is because you're not doing this.
Okay.
You're not doing that. And when I go to talk to the have and they can't understand the have-nots, I'm saying, well, you need to open up the door because this is what they want.
Okay.
And so, I consider myself like water.
Okay.
I take the shape of my container.
Okay.
I take the shape of my container. Water is powerful
Right.
when
Yeah.
it needs to be,
Uh-huh.
but then it could be just as, like it's not even moving. And
Right.
still, the power, the electricity,
Right.
moving one source to another area is unstoppable. So,
Okay.
So in this episode, we are talking about life after sports, and the sport that you play. For those that may not know you, what sport was that?
that was professional football.
And what team were you on?
I started out with the Carolina Panthers. I got to give shout outs to Fort Valley State, HBCU, and Clark Atlanta. That's where I'm coaching at right now, helping those young men. But coming from an HBCU, a first round draft pick with the Carolina Panthers, 22nd pick overall, first defensive back select. So that guy in 1995, anybody out there want to make $1 million when they have a particular, drawing for who's the first defensive back taken in the 1995 draft, it came from Fort Valley State. But Carolina Panther, and then I went to the Indianapolis Colts, and I won my Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. And yes, I did play with Tom, and I did play with Bill Belichick. I get that question all the time, but I finished up with the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. Awesome.
So, in your field, you reach the pinnacle of wisdom. I mean, that's it, right? That's the ultimate, to be able to say you accomplish winning a Super Bowl. That's why they played that game, is in order to win, and you won on the highest level that we know, and that's the NFL. So where do you go from there? Where do you go from there to experience that? And then it's obvious from what you're telling us, by being mutable, that you knew that one day there could be a transitional period, and you would be prepared for it, because you used the analogy of being like water. Explain that to our audience.
Well, again, I always tell people, if you know who you are, that's the first thing. You got to know who you are. And once you know who you are, and you start looking at, have I arrived? And what do I mean when I say, have I arrived? When you can see everything that is on the inside of you manifest itself on the outside, then you have arrived. If you still have dreams and desires inside of you that have not manifested themselves on the outside, then you have not reached that pinnacle yet. Okay. You are on the destination. Like I put my GPS in to come here. It would tell me, okay, make the right turn at such and such street. The second turn here. Then it says you have arrived. That means I have no more travel to go. So I tell people, if you feel any type of desire inside of you that's still there, you haven't reached the pinnacle. I don't care if you won the lottery. I don't care if you live in Beverly Hills. Right. If there's still some type of inner desire in you, then you have not reached the pinnacle. So football was just a stepping stone to help me go and be able to collaborate and talk to those. Like I said, I'm a connector. Those to reach back and bring those up and tell those, okay, yes, you have made it, but there's more in you. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the actual serum is made from the venom. Mm-hmm. So I have to go through things so I can tell other people, you know what, you can make it. You can do it. You can do it. Keep going. There's more in you. Right. So I haven't reached my pinnacle. I'm still swimming, but I'm able to reach back and bring others with me.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So when you talk about that burning desire that's inside of you, what started to burn when you hung up your cleats?
That started. That started
because it was something in you still. Yeah. So talk about it.
Well, that fire of wanting to be great. Now, football didn't happen until once I got into college, maybe my junior year, because I like to tell athletes, and I tell people this, not just athletics, but it's life. I was a late bloomer. Now, just because things are not working in your life right now doesn't mean that it's not yours. You have to keep swimming. Now, some people, they like women and boys and girls. They say girls reach puberty before boys. So I think sometimes in our life situations, we reach puberty before. So I didn't reach, that desire and burning started in LaGrange, Georgia with my mom coming into the house, and my mom is actually crying, and I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And just like any male, you see your mother, you're like, okay, I gotta do something. So that's when the desire started when I was very young, probably about around 13, 14 years old.
Okay. And that's important because the fact that in order for you to gain your highest heights, you have to reach a lowest depth somehow to get that connector that you were alluding to earlier. Yeah. And so once you decided, once you seen something at 13, you can look in the mirror and you can say, Tyrone, what? What did you say? Tyrone, what? Something had to happen.
But you know what? We do want to know what Tyrone had to say, but we'll find out when we come back from the break.
On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell focuses on educational, humorous, and insightful topics based on extraordinary lives of real people. Each episode provides real talk from real people.
Felt rejected, being newly divorced, and I didn't want my kids to feel like they'd missed something in life. So I went above and beyond to make sure that they would have no.
I had just been doing the catering, small and part-time, and she just left to come on full-time. And everything shut down. So imagine losing, literally we lost, 80% of our income.
Wow. I love that. The ladybug and
the butterfly.
Join Shuntai Hill, a certified counselor, and Johnell Allen Bay, a life coach and relationship expert, weekly for On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell. Shuntai Hill and Johnell Allen Bay are the king and queen of relationships. Each week, the couple engages their audience with hot, sexy topics about relationships for the grown and sexy. The show is interactive, fun, and real.
Our next topic. I got drunk. Hold on. I got drunk the other night, and my girl grabbed my ears from behind. So she was behind him, grabbed his ears, and then he smacked her. I immediately apologized, but to be honest, I meant it, and I knew it was her. I felt horrible about hitting her, but I felt good at the same time. What's up with this?
Tune in weekly to She Say, He Say with Shuntai Hill and Johnell Allen Bay. For more information, visit shesayhesay.media.
So welcome back to On the Couch with
Shuntai Hill,
and Johnell Allen Bay. And when we last left, we left with Tyrone in the mirror.
he was looking in the mirror, the man in the mirror.
The man in the mirror. That's a good one. That's a good one. The man in the mirror. That's where it all starts, and that's where it all ends. It's the person in the mirror. So I tell people, the only person that can mess you up, whether you're trying to be successful or whatever, is the person in the mirror. People are just distractions. But at the end of the day, if one person has no hurdles in their lane, you got 5 hurdles in your lane, it's all up to you whether or not you jump those hurdles. That, again, is your passion that you want to get to your finish line. So, but for me, I actually put it all in a book. I have my book, The Ultimate Success in the Game of Life.
Where the book at?
And people, they can go to my website, TyronePool38.com, but in that book is 12 dynamic principles about life. It's not about me. It's about principles. And I think principles are the way of life. You learn the principles, you'll be successful in anything.
I agree with that.
So Johnell and I expect a copy of the book.
Right. Yes, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
My table empty, so I want to make sure I get one there.
So as we talk about transition, sounds like you handled your transition pretty well. Right? Am I making an assumption?
No.
Or was there
right.
some challenges to it?
Yeah, no, you're right. I feel like if people can understand this concept again, I feel like I am a connector. I'm a person that goes out and get the bloody nose first, and then tell everybody, hey, that wall is hard. So
yeah, that's me too. I pay for all my experience. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I tell them, and I've learned, whatever you slay in the first decade, you're gonna eat in the next decade. So if you slay nothing in your 20s, don't look for nothing to eat in your 30s. So it's preparation.
I love that. I love that. I love that because my concept is you're never gonna be greater later. Right. So if it ain't putting it in today, you ain't getting done tomorrow. So I really respect what you're saying there, and so we appreciate that.
So Joseph, when people are dealing with transition, whether it's a career or moving from marriage to divorce, just life transitions, what are some of the mental things that people deal with?
So there's always an opportunity for grief. And people will always think about grief as, we're losing someone. But whenever we transition, if it's in a career, there's a loss of status, of wealth, you name it, a purpose sometimes for folks, right? And then even in our relationships, there's an opportunity for grief. What does grief look like? Hey, we're in denial, we might be angry, we might be depressed, we might be trying to plea bargain, we're doing all of these things, right? But we may not even realize that that's what's happening to us.
Okay.
So during that process, do the mind get wounded?
Of course.
Okay, that's important because we believe in healing of the wounded mind. We believe that you have to go through that process in order to take it to that next step. So I want you to talk about more about how do you really recognize that? Because a lot of times we don't recognize that we're depressed. Right. We don't recognize that I'm going through something because of the fact that, as men, we learn at an early age to tough things out.
We do.
And so could you talk about this?
So let's just say this. For most men, depending on how they were taught masculinity, they may not be vulnerable enough. They may not be emotional. They may not even be able to recognize it.
Okay.
But if somebody says, hey, you know what? You seem to isolate yourself. You don't seem to get along with folks so well. You're kind of irritable. Kind of not eating, you're sleeping all the time, you're not sleeping, things of that nature.
Eating too much.
Eating too much, right? Maybe you're drinking.
Drinking too much.
Maybe cannabis is prevalent.
Smoking too much.
You see, and so maybe the lifestyle changed, period, completely opposite. And so those are the things that you may have to listen to. If somebody close to you is telling you, hey, I'm noticing this, maybe you want to listen.
But there's another thing about, in our community, one of the things that's hard for us to do is to accept that we're being defeated in life. That's a hard step for somebody to tell you, you know what I'm saying, you getting this wrong. because we're geared to believe that we are right. And like you alluded to earlier, the biggest inspiration and motivation that you have was within. So it's hard for a person that understands some stuff about themselves to allow something outside of them to penetrate. Talk to us about that, Will.
So once we identify and we accept our situation, because there is an acceptance.
Yes.
Right.
Mr. Poole had to accept that someday I'm going to transition from playing football to
Right.
going on my life.
Right.
Once that happens, now I got to make some choices.
Okay.
I can do nothing.
Right.
That might not work.
Okay.
All right? But if I accept that and I make some choices, now I got to be at a place where I start looking for options. How do I solve my problem? What is my purpose? Where am I going? Who am I? What are my talents? What are my gifts? So now I'm at a place where I'm starting to reinvent and prepare. Actually, what I'm starting to do is put everything together so that I can be resilient and not allow whatever challenge happens to be
Okay. Yeah.
overwhelm me.
Okay. Yeah. But, but attrition plays a major role in our lives
Yeah.
as humans. There comes a point in time where attrition will say, you know what, hey, it's time to slow down.
Yeah.
But the mind tells us some more things because of the fact that it's been geared. All your life, you prepared your mind for the task. So how do you do this? How do I convince my mind when this is how I made up? This is what got me to be successful. How do you say it? What do you answer, therapist?
Well, how do you wrap your mind around it? See, you put me on the spot there.
Well, you got me earlier.
So I believe that you really don't slow up.
Okay.
You never stop learning.
Absolutely.
You're always evolving. I say you can go from one thing, be successful at it, and then try something else. When you get to the point that you feel like you don't want to learn anything else or do anything else, then you become stagnant and life becomes different.
Okay.
And that's where some people find themselves when they're older in depression, dealing with anxiety type of thing, the isolating thing, withdrawing from their social circles. I say you should never stop. Keep up with the mind. Your mind can continue and your body can catch up.
So think about that. Think about in any transition, we want to demonstrate our resilience. What does that mean? Does that mean that we're starting to look optimistically as opposed to being a pessimist? Does that mean that we are starting to make sure that we affiliate with people who are healthy, where iron sharpens iron, where we have people around us that are supporting us and lifting us up? We don't want to be a burden to anyone. As a matter of fact, I don't know, men seem to think, I never want to be a burden to anyone else. I don't want to come up short.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be a man that's not being able to, what do we always think about? Providing for our family. We always.
Yeah.
How people going to look at us.
Absolutely.
Those are the things that we are always struggling with, right? But we forget there's a whole bunch of other factors there. We won't even ask for help.
Right.
So we need to ask for help. We need to say this is not right. So those are the things. Resilience. Okay, once I identify who I am, what I am, what are my talents, what are my gifts?
Well, sometimes we have to be motivated and help. That's why life coaches are so important in this world today,
Yes.
because of the fact that, so often we have poured a lot of effort into other things, but not into our minds like we need to.
Yep.
And so I love the illustration that you gave because it makes sense. And as a coach, I know you can appreciate that because of the fact that, go
And
ahead.
about the learning thing.
Yes, sir.
You touched on it a little bit. And I've learned the term never be scared to be a sophomore again. Never be afraid
Hold
to
on,
be
we're
a
going to
sophomore
stop there
again.
because we're going to take a break, but I want to go
Yes.
on that. I want to talk about that.
We'll lead in.
Never be scared to be a sophomore
again.
On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell focuses on educational, humorous, and insightful topics based on extraordinary lives of real people. Each episode provides real talk from real people
felt rejected, being newly divorced, and I didn't want my kids to feel like they missed something in life. So I had went above and beyond to make sure that they would have no.
I had just been doing the catering, small part-time, and she just left to come on full-time, and everything shut down. So imagine losing, literally we lost, 80% of our income.
Wow. I love that. The ladybug and
The
butterfly.
butterflies.
Join Shuntai Johnell, a certified counselor, and Johnell Allen Bay, a life coach and relationship expert, weekly for On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell. Shuntai Johnell and Johnell Allen Bay are the king and queen of relationships. Each week, the couple engages their audience with hot, sexy topics about relationships for the grown and sexy. The show is interactive, fun, and
Our
real.
next topic. I got drunk. Hold on. I got drunk the other night, and my girl grabbed my ears from behind. So she was behind him, grabbed his ears, and then he smacked her. I immediately apologized, but to be honest, I meant it, and I knew it was her. I felt horrible about hitting her, but I felt good at the same time. What's up with this?
Tune in weekly to She Say, He Say with Shuntai Johnell and Johnell Allen Bay. For more information, visit shesayhesay.media.
And welcome back to another episode of
On the Couch with Shuntai and Johnell Allen Bay. I am
Yes.
not a sex therapist.
No, we'll put that out there. that
Okay,
you're
just
not.
want to put out there, I am not.
And today we have with us Tyrone Poole, and we have Joseph, who is at LPC, and we're talking about transitioning from a life after sports.
And in our last segment, you were alluding to the sophomore, so give it to us.
Yeah, we were talking about transition,
Yes.
and whether it's in sports or whether it's in life, it's all about learning. And I use the number system to kind of get my point across when I talk to people. There are principles, as I mentioned before. So if you take 0 through 9, and then you get to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, 50, 51, 52, you go into another level. But the principles stay the same. 0 to 9 never changes.
That's right.
So whenever you go to 50, 60, you're making a transition from left to right. Never be afraid to learn again. And if you never be afraid to be a sophomore again, then no matter what type of curve comes into your life, you'll be able to hang on and straighten up and keep it going
Right.
to the next destiny. So
I like that.
I like that. But when you talk, Mr. Poole, the first thing that I understand is that you're extraordinary. Okay? So when you're extraordinary, you think in terms of being extraordinary. But in order to be able to be effective, how do you touch the common mind of the person who is trying to get there but don't understand that there's principles to get there?
I'm glad you said that. You used that word extraordinary. Because what I try to tell
Absolutely.
people, extraordinary people used to be ordinary people, but they made their mind up that they want to go to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
so if you and I are sitting down, or if we all are sitting and you decide you want to get your degree or your doctrine, most of the time, people who are not seeking that are going to get mad. So we're going to get mad at you instead of saying, let's follow him.
Right.
Because he wants to become extraordinary. A lot of us are satisfied with being ordinary, being
Absolutely.
average. You want handouts, but extraordinary people, they say, you know what? I believe in myself. I can lean on myself. Of course, you need partners. Any fruit that you see, apples, bananas, pears, that did not get there by itself. You have to have relationships. So the seed that you see was dropped in the ground. So we got to have a relationship. And if we have a relationship, then we can be whatever we want. But
Okay.
extraordinary, that's what they've learned. I got to have a relationship, and what I want inside, I got to go get it.
That's where that connector comes in at. It's about relationship building.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah.
Connectivity.
And so as a person who, you shape and mold minds, even when you're not trying to, because of the fact that you have made a conscious choice to live extraordinary. So there's a responsibility. So as a coach, and you got a player that's coming before you, and he's good. He has to be good because he's there. How do you employ something in him from yourself to take him to the next level? Because like you said, that ain't no good if you ain't doing nothing to help other people, right? We all understand that principle. When you're a principled guy, give it to us.
Yeah, I tell them to go look at the whole movie.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. A lot of people see success, they see the table here.
Yes.
They see the end product, but they didn't see the bending and the nailing or the hammering or the glue and the whatever it went through. So that's why I say you gotta go see the whole movie.
Yes.
Go see it from the beginning. Then you get appreciation when someone brings you wisdom and they tell you what you're doing is not gonna cut it if you're trying to get to the level that I've seen. It's almost like Martin Luther King. You know, he said, I've been to the mountaintop.
Right.
And I might not get there with you. We all know what he meant when he said that, but he saw it. So he's coming back delivering the deliverables. So those that took it and said, you know what? I'm gonna go see the whole movie. Those are the ones that are still living that dream.
Okay. I love that. I love that concept there. So as a therapist, you do a lot of one-on-one.
Yes, sir.
You do a lot of one-on-one. And when you see that there's not a light that's on, how do you turn that on? You know, how do you turn it on? Because, you know, earlier in the segment, we had a man that used the word soluble. That means there's something there of value. As a therapist, how do you ignite that in a person? What are the ways that you try to be able to evoke that?
So I'm always in a place of empathy.
Okay.
I'm not a person who started out as a therapist.
Okay.
I've traveled,
Nobody
I've been
did.
exposed to stuff.
Right.
I've lived a little bit,
Okay. Yes.
right? So I always put that in play when I'm interacting with you. One, for me to use words that may not be easily understood would not be acceptable,
Absolutely.
right? So I like how you guys, and I use a lot of analogies sometimes too. When you were talking about your water, right? What does stagnant water look like? Well, stagnant water doesn't move. It has no oxygen in it. There's nothing living in it. It stinks. And so at that point, I will break things down in such a way. I will meet a person where I need to meet them, so they will understand exactly what they need to be motivated.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I often do is I look for a person's strengths. Some people don't even realize their strengths because
Yes.
life has beat them up. They got so many challenges. They've had so many adverse childhood experiences. You name it. They've had them all. And so they don't even realize what their strengths are.
Okay.
So I might call them out and we'll build on those.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. I love it. You know, this segment has been very enlightening to me because of the fact that very seldom do I sit down with people and I'm able to see something outside of my lenses, which looks like my lenses. And so I appreciate you men being able to have that impact in our society and in our world. I ask that you continue to keep up the great work and then let people know how to get to you. How do they get to you?
TyronePool.com, website TyronePool38.com, and all social media TyronePool38. So it's branding.
We do
We
that
do
too.
a lot of that.
So Joseph Adams, LPC, just query Joseph Adams, Resilience Factor Counseling and Education.
Where are you located?
Actually here in Hiram, Georgia, outside of Atlanta.
Okay.
Okay.
All right then.
So
Okay,
any tips for our audience before we break away?
Well, I would just say there's an old saying. They would mostly say it about women, so to speak. Use what you got to get what you want. That's really true. Use what you got to get what you want. But in order to get what you want, you got to know who you are and what you have to give. And if you got a gift, people will pay you for it. I promise you.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely know that. Thank you.
And your
There's no perfect life.
Okay.
We get to be the architect of our own destiny. We get to overcome our fears, our pains. We get to create
yes.
a life that we would be happy with, that we would appreciate.
So we got to restart.
I use reset.
Reset.
I like restart.
Restart. I like restart, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if you can wake up, it's on.
right.
It's on. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.